35 is interesting because why mention it's in the morning? Is there anything significant there?
I suspect it's because he was on the Sabbath in Capernaum, wasn't it? So it's no longer the Sabbath.
Right.
So it's framing it up on a different day now, which will have an impact on what he's then going to go and do, I guess.
Because he goes off and finds a solitary place again, and he prays. But this time he is not being tempted or anything like that.
No, he took himself out to a deserted place where he goes and spends a little bit of time in prayer, which is not a bad thing to do when you think about it. It's about taking yourself off. Sometimes you need to get away from the hustle and bustle of life. He's just had quite a busy time, hasn't he? He's been preaching in synagogue. He's been dealing with folk with all sorts of unclean spirits, and he's been healing people with diseases and casting out devils and helping his mate's mother-in-law get well and all those sorts of things. So he probably just needs to recharge his batteries. And I think that is a really nice indicator of who he is. He's a real man.
It's interesting as well, though, because he has been in the synagogue, and it was the case that there was always 7 who would read, and the 7th would read the smaller portion and then go on to the teaching. That must have been Jesus. But then, of course, he gives his own authority, his own yoke, his amazing people, talking through the Torah. And then he's gone introspectively to pray. It's that kind of exterior and then interior, which is what Mark is talking about here. But the fact he does it alone.
It's that opportunity to be in solitude where you can reconnect with spirit. So that's exactly what Jesus would have done. He would have been giving of himself. So there would have been a constant outward flow from him. And he now needs to top himself up with his levels up, his spirit levels up, if you like. I'm just trying to use picture imagery. It's a way of sort of rejuvenating himself. It's a way of building up his strength, building up his stamina, building up his reliance on God, the Great Spirit, who he connects into. Something like that.
I just find it a good imagery. You know, I often talk about the light and the dark and the quiet and the busy. That's the mark of a good writer, which Mark plainly is. But also then he's in a public place in the synagogue, he's teaching, but he still has to go off and focus on communing with himself, in effect.
Yeah, well, that's right, communing the mystery of the Godhead, right? It's that unity in the diversity and communion, a common union, having that common union together and bringing your whole will and way into the way that the Great Spirit, God the Father, wants you to do things. A broadband connection which is open, you get that download.